like it a lot.
Oh, cool.
The
I
waffle
have
seeds get a lot of discussion.
I those kids are in 5th grade now, which in my school is in middle school. So like a lot of them are a part of the literary magazine that I facilitate, and they
Oh,
other day a couple of them were like, "Are you gonna have the 3rd graders do the seed project again?" And they're
oh, that's awesome.
so it's then they always say like they remember stuff like that. I mean, they did that at their houses. They learned that tool, book creator, like at their houses, and
Yeah,
coming together on the meetings and sharing their screen, and they're like 8 and 9. And
that's awesome.
like
I
pretty
love that.
fun. Yeah.
So, Emily, catch us up
Cool.
on what you're up to. Welcome.
I am currently teaching full time, 8th grade ELA.
East Coast or
I'm
West
in
Coast? Let's start there.
rural Northern California,
Okay.
and that's all I can say because I'm also doing my the dissertation study, and I'm not allowed to reveal exactly where I am.
Oh, you're doing a study where
rural
you're
Northern-
teaching?
Yes, I was
Oh.
able to do that. It's autoethnography, so
Wow.
it's been an interesting journey and exhausting.
Interesting.
How have you been? It's been too long.
Good. You say you're not allowed to say where you are, but can you say how far away you are from Orange Cove? Or not?
San Diego.
Oh, okay.
No, not
So
San
I'm in
Diego. Orange Cove. Orange. Is it? Am I saying the wrong thing? Where's Natalia? She's in.
I thought she was near San Diego.
No,
Or
no.
is she
She's up.
Central Valley?
Yeah, she's Central Valley. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
anyhow, I'm in
Yeah.
Gold Country. I'm in the
Got
like
it.
where the valley meets the Sierra.
What's your question?
What's my question?
Yeah, what are you studying? Are you allowed to say that?
Oh yeah. I am studying. It is more or less culturally responsive teaching, but it's when you find yourself in an environment that is very politically diverse and socially diverse. So, how do you navigate a politically and socially conservative teaching position? Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool.
It's also kind of autobiographical because I'm very close to home in many ways. So,
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
and this is Felix.
Hi, Felix.
I know. It's adorable. Just hanging out there.
So, Chris,
Hi.
we promised to start with you.
Okay.
And what you're up to. And a couple of other people may be coming. The teacher from, let's see, hold on. Yeah. So, Chris, why don't you describe what you've been up to, and then I'll see if what's going on here. Hey, Jake, are you still in the car?
Yeah, I still am. I'll be in the car for about 20 more minutes.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work too much because you can't even move up to where we are, right?
Yeah, I think if I just press on the button, it'll bring me to the spot. But I'll just try to listen, and
Okay, so
if it doesn't work,
we're up on the Atlantic Ocean, up above.
All right,
Okay.
Their annotations to that article, and or they have an option of coming up with a new article and adding that article to an existing collection on Now Comment, or creating a brand new collection if they don't see a research question that's like theirs. So they'll every week and this is the first week, so they're annotating right now. Some of them have actually, well, at least one of them has actually completed the process, which is annotate, then summarize, and then post something on Youth Voices, kind of describing what you found out from your first article. And those things they're researching are kind of like problem solution kinds of research and writing, and they have to align themselves with one of the UN sustainable goals. So their study groups are formed around those 16, I think, 17 UN sustainable goals. So on Now Comment, within a study group that's connected to one of the UN sustainable goals.
And just to remind you, I hope you'll get me a graph of those, or a data sheet of their questions, and
Oh, yes. Yeah.
so that I can kind
Of
of,
the questions.
yeah, their questions and the goal that so that I can support,
Okay.
them in getting set up.
Will do.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so we just started this week, and we don't have school Friday, but they're supposed to be done with that sequence of finding something to annotating it on Now Comment, and then summarizing it on Youth Voices. So, yeah.
And Chris's description of this for his students, I did put a link to it down toward the bottom. Here's what's coming together nicely, though. I went in to start. I thought we might. Jake's in his car, so he may or may not be able to participate, but he's going to try to listen. Welcome, Jake. I thought we could actually go through the process ourselves a little bit and then build on a collection. And one of your students, Paul F., actually started a collection. I was going to go in and start one, and I thought, oh, his question seems fine. So we could sort of just go there. The idea here is for us to think together about a Ukraine collection of resources that we might want to use with our students, and put them up. I would actually want to get real with that a little bit and do it together, if that makes sense. And so,
Is that related, Chris? Is that related to your project, Chris? I was just trying to understand.
Yeah. So that student, originally his question was like, how can we prevent things like Ukraine or something? How can we
Right.
prevent that in the future? I think was his original question. Today it looked like it morphed a little bit. But yeah, that's the intent there. And yeah, so yeah, I already have a piece that I think could go in there that a student wrote, that we could put in that Now Comment collection. I had a senior he's pretty even keeled, and he's actually gonna go to either Navy or West Point. He's been accepted to both. And Air Force too, I think. But he said like, oh, I'd like to dispel some of the myths that my peers are having about Ukraine and US involvement and stuff. So that was last Friday. He started doing that. So
and that's
there's
not Paul, that's somebody else.
That's a different student that I have in English, but I also have him in media. He's an editor of mine for the student media. So he put together something that's kind of interesting. His little question, like question and answer thing. And then he tweeted it out on the student media, and then Twitter flagged it as something they wanted to give it a little context, as it turns out, which I thought was kind of interesting. And the context was to illustrate his story. He chose a photo that he thought was representative of, what's going on there right now. Twitter flagged it as actually it's a photo from like 2017. So it's a flag on context saying like, this isn't a photo that's current. So he was like, well, I still think it's a valid image to illustrate.
Where did he post this?
So this is, I thought I would if we're starting a collection, I thought I would pop all that stuff in there.
Okay.
He posted it on our student media website.
Cool. So that sounds cool. Here's the so I thought we could sort of go through the same process that the students are going through, and that would start with us together, or even separately, deciding what our question might be, right? And then going to the, I think it's the 16th group, study group, and finding whether or not Paul, Chris's student, whether that group is good enough for us to add things to, or do you want to start a new group? So that's our first. So the steps here are this: we need to find out what is your question about what's going on in Ukraine, and that you would want to collect work around. You want to see the question that Chris's student came up with, and then see if that's good enough to add to that one, or do you want to create a new group? Okay. So your first step is to think of a question that you might have. You could write that down somewhere, or and then where you can find this, I'm going up. Yeah, it's just up to the left. There is, come on up here. So as you're coming up, so we're going to say that your question.
Are we moving? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're moving up. Sorry, up to around peace and justice. Question 16. There you go. So here's what's going to happen. So I guess let's just go around. Let's see what his question is. Does that sound fair? I put over there. There's the Ukraine sort of box there. Add to this collection. If you like that collection, you can just go there and we can begin adding to it. And there are steps for how to do that. If you want to create a new one, there are steps for doing that too. So, should we look at his question first? What should we do?
Yeah.
Okay. So click on that box, and I think it opens up into a new tab, which is probably the best thing to do. And you can see is everyone there? You want to log into Now Comment if you haven't done that yet. Is this making sense? Please talk back if it's not.
Yeah, I'm there, but I was already logged in.
Okay, good. So his question is, and we actually can't see the whole question.
What can we do to solve territorial disputes between Russia and Ukraine in post-Cold War Europe?
Right. Which is pretty specific, but...
Yeah.
Wait, where?
Should I share screen?
Well, where do you see the question?
It's at the very top,
Very
says
top.
collect.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
It's actually...
It's the collection question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now, just to help you with navigating, once you're on that page, if you see the Return to Group button, that'll take you back to the Peace and Justice study group, and you can see the collections that are there. That's probably worth doing. So just to say, you'll see his question, the whole question, and then you'll see some of Sam Reed's collections that he's working on, and some stuff we've worked on in the past, etc., and some of Chris Sloan's, some of your kids have worked on some of these collections as well. Go ahead, what?
Right. I mean, it's worth noting that he did look over the questions first to see if there was someone who was kind of doing something similar, because what I wouldn't want would be two parallel questions where people are answering the same question but in different collections. So one of the things is I do ask them to check out the questions that are already in collections in their study group. And he determined there wasn't one that worked for him.
Right.
Chris, I'm wondering if you could help me define the we in the question. Who is the we?
Yeah. Paul, my student Paul's question, who's the we? How can we? I suppose he's thinking in, just general US terms would be my guess on that one.
And this is the kid that's going into the military, right?
No, that was a different kid who did a different story. I was saying, like, if we were collecting things, like, that might be kind of interesting.
Oh, he's the one who tweeted out the thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But these are two different kids.
Okay.
Just by way of sort of orienting you to these study groups, if you're looking at the screen, you want to look above. There is a link to how to upload a document, right at the top. How to create a group. If you want to create a new a new collection, let's say you just wanted to have how are the Ukrainians responding to the invasion, right? Maybe you wanted to have it, which is different than his question, but so we could create that group if you'd like, and there are instructions for how to do that. And then there are links to a sort of fun quiz about peace, justice, and strong institutions, which you could take and just think about that. There's also a link to other peace, justice, and strong institutions posts on Youth Voices. And then there's a link to Solutions Journalism, the story tracker. And then there's a link also, there's the fourth link there to the UN Sustainability Development Goals. So those are just resources you could use or not use, or I don't know, Chris, if your students are aware of these or they bump into them or how it happens.
Where was that list of the resources again?
That's right on it's in the study group. It's in the group.
Oh, I was in his question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those are in I think the description that you originally linked in the email that you sent around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of those are in my kind of wordy description, but
okay.
Oh well.
Those links have been updated recently, though, so you might check those just to be sure. Just a sec. So that's a lot of talk. Let's hear from you. Are there any? What would you like to collect around, or what do you think would be useful to do? Is Paul's question good enough, or do you want a better one? A different one, not better. That's where we need to start.
Well, from a teacher perspective, it'd be kind of cool if he had other people, Paul, you already added something to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that can be pretty motivational for students if, they get more resources from people that they don't know, that they're not just doing it by themselves. So that's totally self-interest for
Mm-hmm.
that student. And I feel like adding this too. Paul's been, I think a few years ago, started saying like, why don't we add to existing collections instead of always having your students kind of come up with their own collections. So there's a little back goal, I guess, that I've kind of been working on too, is like being more intentional for my own students to look and see like, hey, if you have a question and someone has an article that speaks to that question, like it's okay to use that and annotate that. So
I was just trying to understand like the Kremlin's strange victory. I mean, this is a question, I'm not even sure where. I'd have to do research to suggest things. But where did the Kremlin Strange Victory come from?
Let's see if he's. Oh, he hasn't done all the.
But he's getting these from different news sources, right? I mean,
Well, yeah. The next step is to. He should have.
We can go back and add it now, but we can find it.
like the authorship is on the other one, but not that one.
Right. So that's from foreignaffairs.com. So there is kind of a whole media literacy
Yeah.
aspect to this that, you know, is still
Yeah.
being discussed in class.
Yeah.
But we could go back and add that, by the way, the citation to it. At least Chris, you and I can. But
Yeah. I'm just seeing who. I'm not familiar with foreignaffairs.com.
they're pretty legit, though.
Yeah.
Just to say.
Published by the Council on Foreign Relations. But I mean, that would be all stuff that, especially for a topic like this, as we go through the project, like he would try to look for more perspectives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, no, normally there'd be a link that would take you to that source, but he hasn't completed that process yet.
Yeah, this looks like a good way to model, going through good and bad sources and having, students pick out sources and then, the teacher commenting and other students commenting on whether or not it's a good source and why, and, how you would check that out, right? Like getting recommendations from other sources about sources. I mean, it is a very, difficult thing. I know as a writer, sometimes I write articles and, there's professional fact checkers going over everything, and you have to have like really good bulletproof sources when you're publishing something nowadays in a lot of these publications. So it's a great just process, to go through. It's very necessary nowadays, especially in middle school.
Yeah.
So, by the way, so it's just a quick technical thing. There is a place to put the original source link, and there's also a place to put the citation. The citation is a little more complicated to do. But if you could emphasize, Chris, that getting the original source in there is really important. So I did that for him at this point, and it's something I would follow up and do. He just put this up today, I think, right? So yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So just
he wanted to be done, and I'm interested in the first ones, kind of scouting out the territory so he can help others. But yeah.
So just to
there's
say,
still a lot.
I added that. So if you click on the link now, it'll go to the original source. So it does that. Just again, the technical side of it. I mean, so I want to backtrack a little bit just to say that I do want to keep on this topic with us, but not all of your students are doing Ukraine, right? Can you give a quick sense of some of the other topics they're doing? Sorry to backtrack.
Yeah. So let me just check what I've got going here. Why do Black women constantly have to fight for equality in the United States? Gentrification in this girl's neighborhood. One girl's asking about what is sustainable architecture and how do we achieve it. How does overfishing affect sharks and rays?
So she'd be in group 14, by the way.
Yeah, I think she might already be there.
Okay, cool.
where did anti-gay rhetoric used today originate from? So those are the first ones I'm seeing right there. So yeah, they're not all international politics.
Right. So again, that was a quick sideline. I just wanted to make clear that we're focusing in on this one young man who's chosen Ukraine as just as an example for us to play with. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Yeah. So what I want to propose is that you do some work to get right now or together and find something that you would like to either add to Paul F's collection, or if you want to create a new collection, go ahead and do that. And if you need help to do that, Chris and I are here and we can all help do that. Does that sound like a doable thing?
Yeah.
Give me a thumbs up. Yes. Yeah. Okay. And there are instructions everywhere, but we can point you to where they are, and you can tell us whether they're clear or not. And we want to see if you can add something to a collection or start a new collection.
So it seems like the harder part for me would be finding anything useful about, like, is the research on Ukraine.
Yeah, but
so anyway, let me just ask. Like, I went to Solutions Tracker, Chris, and should you be able to like search there for something about Ukraine, or is that like, am I approaching this wrong?
Well, they curate their stories, and so they do have a. I would say their bias, their bent is looking at especially local solutions to stories, and it takes them a while, I think, to curate it. It's not like an aggregated news thing. It's like they kind of either you can submit something to them, or they go out and find it and say like, oh, here's a great example of it.
I think it's a good question though.
Or they actually sponsor, they have grants for local journalists and they'll sponsor projects, but it doesn't really move really quickly as far as like Ukrainian news over the last week. I think that might be hard to find on that.
Okay.
Because it's all problem solution journalism.
Yeah.
And right now there's a lot of problem.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was looking there, because I was like, well.
Yeah, right. I mean, I bet you they have stuff on Arab-Israeli, Palestinian-Israeli peace projects and stuff like that, though.
Right.
What did you get when you searched? Did you try it?
Nothing. It says no stories.
Okay.
Because I think he's right. It's like it's organized differently than
Yeah, it's a curated kind of thing.
So yeah, I mean, Chris, your students must also have this question, right? Just to say.
Which question?
Christina's question, which is, so where do I get stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm surprised. Really, this was after 2 classes. People like Paul have really traveled a long way because he was already interested in it. Like he had done reading already. He's a guy, if you look at his history on Now Comment, like he is a prolific commenter. So I think he takes to the platform. So he likes the platform, or it seems to be at ease on the platform. And he also is very much interested in political science. And so a lot of the other kids, are still struggling, really. Like a lot of it is like, where do I find stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I've been mostly listening to NPR. So then I was thinking like, oh, I guess I could look at their website. And
yeah. So this is kind of an anomaly.
The kids wouldn't be doing that. Yeah.
That topic, because really a lot of the students, I've been just posting questions that people in previous years have asked and said, like, does this question appeal to you? If so, go check out that collection. But he wanted to do like, I'm really interested in what's going on in Ukraine. He's really different. Most of them will settle for a question that's already there or something similar, more enduring questions and not so much topical.
The current events. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, this is a tough question to answer.
I mean, one thing I just noticed this on and just a homepage at NPR is that African students say they're facing discrimination when they try to leave Ukraine. And I've been hearing, like, I heard that the Hungarian president or whatever he is, you know, said like, oh, we'll let Ukrainians in because they look like us, unlike those Middle Easterners.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the discrimination and all the white supremacy happening in Poland is apparently really hitting against anybody who isn't
Slavic,
yeah
right? Isn't
yeah
It's even
Isn't-
interesting
isn't,
I was
even perceived to be Slavic apparently.
right. It's even
That's a
interesting.
very-
Nobody mentions religion, right?
hostile-
Either, which is fascinating. Like nobody's saying these Orthodox Christians, right? Or whatever. Like they would identify the religion in an Islamic country, for example. Yeah, I mean it's, and I'm just kind of Sam Reed, who can't make it tonight, but did send. He did have a video about that we could get up. But is there a question in that, Christina? It's sort of the tension of forcing a topic into a
Well-
question, but yeah.
I mean, it made me just question, like, oh, that's interesting. I hadn't really, like, how diverse is Ukraine? Is sort of like a question that made me think. I realized I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know there were all these African students in Ukraine. Like, what's the story behind that? So it's sort of, yeah, and
Can I just say something?
Go for it.
Yeah. So one thing I've observed is that the Russians have been describing Ukrainians as racist and as bigoted, and that you know, and playing up this neo-Nazi factions. Yeah, and you know the Russians are very, very experienced at dividing people. You know, they're very keenly aware of America's past and our divides, and they have funded propaganda sometimes on both sides. You know, just to make sure that we're constantly at each other's throats, and you know it's working to a T. And they're able to do that all over the world, and Ukraine, of course, as well. I was really curious, just trying to catch up to the news when I come home at night, and I was really curious, like what the casualty counts are at this point. And so I was able to find, America's media is very tightly controlled, and sometimes we just don't have access to great sources. Fishing around on Twitter, if you follow the right people, then they lead you, to places. Sometimes you can get decent information. And I did find a British newspaper that had people on the ground. And, this was like 2 or 3 days ago, but they were reporting that 35 Russian troops were killed so far, and that only about 300 Ukrainians, including a couple of children. And it was very interesting to me to see how lopsided that is. And I wonder if that's the same now in the last couple of days, because I heard that Putin was getting more desperate and was turning his attention more to civilian targets. And I have seen that video of bombing the famous town square in that one town where they have visiting musicians and visiting bands come play, and they just completely just missile it to to dust. So there are pictures and videos, but it seems very sporadic, and it's not like we're getting a complete picture. I think you really have to hold in abeyance a lot of just presumptions, because a lot of the facts come out kind of like late. They come out in drips and drabs. So that's all part of this process too.
So can I ask? Were you suggesting there that like we might be falling the worry about the racism might be something that we're just picking up from Russian propaganda, or or it's just hard to know, right?
Well, yeah, I mean it goes both ways, and
Mhm.
so it depends on who the source is, and if it points back to Russian government, or government sources as opposed to journalists, you got to take it all with a grain of salt,
Mhm.
and put it in perspective. you know but it's if there is a reporter on the ground and he is reporting for a publication somewhere, in the UK or some other country, it's good to follow them, and get updates from them, because they might not be able to give you the whole picture, but they can give you what they're seeing, and they're talking to people on the ground, and
Mhm.
even if you're not getting the whole story, you're getting a story. But it's tough. I mean, it might be a while before people really realize what's going on in all of these territories.
Marina, can I bring you into the conversation? And I'm circling around to you're muted, by the way. Circling around to a question, which
Sorry.
that's okay. So your third graders, have you talked to them about this yet, or how do you talk to third graders about, or do they talk to
No,
you? Yeah.
no, but it is clear that they, some of them probably are talking about it at home with their families, because
Mhm.
my co-teacher has seen a little bit of it in their notebooks. I think just to be honest, like I think in the classroom right now, and not to throw it in another direction, but I think the big thing for them the past 2 days with what we've been talking with kids about has been just the change in massing protocols, that
Mhm.
like, not to bring a whole different topic up, but I think that's been a really like big deal for them, and then also with conversations around that. So that's kind of, I think, but I wouldn't, I'm sure, and I don't, yeah,
No, that's cool.
I don't.
You don't what? What were you going to say?
Oh no, sorry. Oh, sorry. I thought no, I'm good.
Okay. So one of the things that I would want to bring to students, I think, is a collection of photographs. Um, I don't. So that's one. So I think the question is more or less like what's happening in Ukraine. Chris, your student is has this well developed or very specific question, and I'm not sure adding to his collection makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
But I'm not sure. I think we need a
Yeah, I mean,
collection
I
which
found
is.
myself searching for articles like what's going on, like how did this come about, explainer kinds of articles.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Because his thing is like, how can we avoid this in the future? And I think a lot of students might be in the space where it's like, what is going on? How did we get here? Not so much, how can we avoid it, like Paul. all my students.
So why don't we do that? And then see if we can find one thing to add. Is that okay? And so we can rename it later, but we'll just, for now, we'll call it "What's Going On in Ukraine," and we can add some things to that. Does that sound okay? I'll start it, unless somebody else wants to. So while I'm doing this, what you should do is see if you can find something you would like to add to this collection. All right.
I'm gonna see if Teen Vogue has anything.
So, yeah. Oh, okay.
Marina, have the kids been talking about war at all, just in general?
Not too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time Europe has had a war in a long time, right? A hot war.
Yeah.
Did anybody see Hillary Clinton the other night?
Mm-mm.
So, it was interesting. She was on Rachel Maddow, I think, and she was talking about a couple of aspects, but she was saying that I'm not saying this is I'm paraphrasing, but she was like, I'm just asking a question, but it would appear that Putin might be in cognitive decline, or that there might be some kind of problem with his acuity. And I just thought how interesting it is, that we're hearing this about Putin now. We heard this about Biden, we heard this about Hillary, we heard this about Trump, we heard this about, everybody, is that, these things get planted around that they're in, cognitive decline. And, it's
They're
an
all about the
interesting
same
question.
age, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but I've never heard that about Putin before. I mean, everybody said, he's wily and he's cagey and he's
Yeah.
very, deliberate. So isn't that, interesting when, when the battle's on, it's just a battle of information and battle of news and a battle of narratives. And, that just gets put in there too. They want people to doubt Putin's, plan, and they want them to think, oh, maybe he made a mistake. So they're already putting it out there like, oh well, he must be mad, he must be insane, he must be losing it. And who knows what's really going on. They show that picture of him all the way at one end of a table, and then all of his advisors are all the way down on the other
So,
side of the table. So that's just another thing in the mix. It's very complex for adults. I
so,
can't imagine
but
a
Jake,
kid.
I'm
Yeah,
just curious. Your seventh and eighth graders, are they talking about this stuff, or?
yeah, they are picking up on stuff. I have an advisory in the 15 minutes a day,
Hmm.
and we get an hour on Fridays. And so I have turned it into a newscast. Ever since last year. I always start off. Did you guys hear what happened? And then they're like, "What?" And you know, a couple of kids over the break have been, observing, and sometimes they get things wrong, but they're calling out, and they're just coming out with things that they saw and things that they
Millions of people
heard.
scramble to get out
And
of Ukraine
sometimes
and
it's exaggeration, sometimes it's just like secondhand, but they're aware. I would say maybe half of them came in with a basic understanding of what was going on, and then the other half was listening.
Hmm.
And it's great to hear. It's great, that kids are sharing with other kids what they know, and then the teachers there, kind of like correcting things and putting it in perspective and adding.
Hmm.
But
So,
15 minutes goes very fast in the morning.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
So,
is your homeroom?
Yeah, it's kind of like a home. It's called advisory, and
Hmm.
the kids love it because I'm the art room, and so they come in and they can color, and
Right,
they're
right.
working on things for days, but only like 15 minutes at a go. And then I put on the projector. I have some images, there's a slideshow that the school gives us, but I don't really use it. I just do the announcement screen, and then I just move on to usually like AP News or something, where, there's a photo or some, video or something. And, um, the news lately has been this, but, before it's been a lot of pandemic stuff, and, you know, the, uh, the changes that have been going through, the political thing, and it all starts with what the kids know, because I don't really bring up topics that they don't already have some understanding of. But you can tell like the news is breaking into their lives, and so I want to just put it in perspective and just try to be the voice of reason, fact checking and myth busting and all that kind of stuff.
So I'm getting the video that Sam Reed used in a very similar situation with his kids. I'm getting that up into a collection. He calls it, what's he call it? His Ratchetemic Discourse. A video he used with them. I'm getting that up into the collection. We can circle back to that in just a second here. I'm trying to get the URL.
I was able to add an article to your question, Paul. So
To that collection?
To your collection, what's happening in Ukraine.
Cool.
So yeah, I think a lot of kids will have that question.
It's no.
Can't find it. Cool. That comes from Bloomberg.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, I was looking for a short piece or one
Well,
thing.
but it's at least chunky. You
Yeah.
can read whichever parts you want. I don't know why the document I put up, I can't find it. Well, let's see. Okay. So So one of the things I've seen out there is just moving back to third graders, like what would be appropriate for a third grader to read? And Christina suggested like a graphic novel or a graphic story about war or something to that effect. Or I'm just
Well,
I'm putting lots of thoughts out there. Right,
yeah,
Christina?
I just on Facebook I had shared like talking about war with children as a resource that looked it was just thinking in that general way, like that might be, and I was looking at it just to think about like talking to kids in my life. So anyway, I could find that. It's more like infographic kind of thing. But it was more general lore, less and more about giving kids a chance to talk about their feelings, less specific to Ukraine. There are like if I search stories in Teen Vogue, I was looking at those to see if any of those were useful. There's like one that has photographs of protests breaking out in different around the world. And an op-ed called "What It Feels Like to Watch Bombs Fall in Your Childhood City." I don't know. These might be sort of, and then another article on Ukrainians living in the U.S. and what they're doing. I don't know if any of those are helpful.
I saw a video about a school in Ukraine that was getting visited by the local civil authority, and the kids were getting taught what a bomb looks like, and a grenade looks like, and a rifle, and
Hey, it's Dan Zimmerman. Welcome to Illustrate.
And they were making the kids wear like a bulletproof jacket or vest and walk around, and they were just explaining to them, like, you might come across this, you might see this, you have to know what to do to be safe. And they showed the kids on camera, like, they were laughing and joking and trying to have fun, but then they were talking to the camera person, and it got serious.
Can you send that to me?
I'm
Christina,
looking
you
for
too.
it.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm trying to find
So-
where I saw that. It was that city that was under attack. I forget the name of it, but there's a piece here on HuffPost that describes teaching kids the turtle game to prepare for attacks. I guess that's some kind of duck and cover thing. Yeah, that might be for smaller children. So yeah, I got this one. I don't know where am I supposed to share this? I don't have the link.
At this point,
On
just
the Now comment box.
you could just email it to me at this point.
Okay.
And that
Yeah,
goes for anything anybody else wants to find. And I'll get them into the group for you. So just to say, Chris, this is a 5-week project, and it's even a little telescope this year from previous years, right? So
Yeah,
once they start collecting stuff, it's not like it all happens in 1 hour, right? Like it is for us. So yeah, I think they kind of get the idea of, like you were saying earlier, finding different points of view and maybe media too.
Yeah, so as the weeks go on, there's going to be a week where we look for other perspectives. They need to find a variety of media in their sources too, so it can't all just be text. But infographics and photos also.
Cool. Well, I hope you all had some experience of what Chris is doing with his kids. And I hope we've done something useful here too. And any thoughts here as we're closing out?
Yeah. I did find interesting lesson plan for teachers from the Pulitzer Center on contextualizing the conflict in Ukraine.
On what?
Contextualizing the conflict in Ukraine.
Oh, that sounds good.
So that's in that study group.
You already put that up?
I just have to make it a public document, but
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
it will be there. So right now. So I think it should be there.
Any thoughts about next steps or where we're going wrong here or how we can support others or any thoughts about what's happening? Like, I think, Chris, over the years, you've been developing a model of something here, and just to say, but
Yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, it's just like I just explained to kids today, like, why are we doing what we're doing? It's like, well, you're reading carefully and then you're summarizing it and then you're sharing it. So that's essentially what we're doing.
When are you gonna get a Ukrainian class on your blog?
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Might not be that easy.
I actually found a school that is in Ukraine, an international school, and they're collecting artwork from around the world for Message of Peace and having people post it on a Padlet. I'll share it with you guys if you want to see it.
Yeah.
There's stuff from like all over. Oh wait, it's yeah, and there's a password in there too.
Yeah, I found a video of teens making testimonials on Twitter on a little video.
And you've sent that to me?
I'm getting it. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
getting it to you.
Okay, great.
I just can't find that other package I saw. Some good stuff on Twitter, some photos. Oh, there's some graphic stuff too.
Marina, how did you come across that school in Ukraine?
On Twitter, actually, I was just kind of looking at some artwork, and I just found it in a thread, and I clicked on it, and
Okay, so we should just come back here. If there's more to add, we can just add it, right?
You can.
Like if we run into things.
Yep.
Okay.
You can add it, or you can send it to me and I'll add it for you.
Right.
Unless 30 people do that. So thank you all.
Yeah.
Keep adding, and we'll try to get this out to others too, and see what can happen. I mean, it's
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
hate to cut this off because the last 3 minutes people showed some really cool stuff, but we can keep looking. All right, thank you all.
All right.
Okay, see ya.
Paul.
Good night.
Have
Okay.
a good night. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.